All right, we have hit the top of the hour, so we will get ready to kick things off. My name is Violet. I'm your seminar MC, and I'm happy to welcome you to our spring developer ecosystem seminar. We will be answering your questions that were submitted during your registration via presentation by Dino, our Client Services Director. All of the answers to your questions are pulled directly from our research library of syndicated research reports. If you have any follow-up questions or if we couldn't get to yours, please reach out to Dino or me. I'll be adding our contact information in the chat. Okay, with that, I am going to hand things over to Dino.
Thank you, Violet. As Violet mentioned, we have a lot of great questions and data to share. I'm eager to get started, so here we go. Evans Data has been around for over 2 decades. And for those of you who aren't that versed with what we do, we are a primary market research firm with a developer-centric focus. Evans Data was created in 1998 to fill a need for in-depth research into software development trends and adoption patterns. Up until that time, these kinds of insights were lacking in the industry. So in essence, Evans Data pioneered developer research. Every year, we run multiple syndicated surveys. We leverage our proprietary panel of 185,000 developers and IT pros from more than 80 countries, producing data and insights distilled via detailed and technical reports. As we'll see on the next slide, these reports benefit the major tech firms and beyond to help support their key objectives and goals with actionable developer research. Over the last 2 years in particular, what we're seeing is that companies across all industries are increasingly publishing their APIs to innovate faster. This means that they need to attract developers and support these developers through robust developer programs. This is why they need to understand in depth how developers view the latest technology and development trends. As you can see from our prestigious client roster, aside from supporting the very vast majority of global tech firms, we also help top VCs and investment banks. All are leveraging our insights to inform strategy and anticipate where the market will be in the coming years by understanding the current developer population landscape globally and how this landscape will evolve in the future. So we talked a little bit about the scope of research, but it's also important to understand what goes into the research to be able to produce the results. Margin of error is a yardstick which we use to determine accuracy. Bearing in mind that according to market research best practices, the industry standard margin of error is 5%, we aim for 4.5% or better in all our surveys. As you can see here in the graph at the bottom, it's not just a numbers game, as after about 1,500 respondents, there are very marginal returns. In fact, you can never actually get to 0% unless you interview every single developer out there. So it's really a case of finding the right balance for our clients and achieve a sample size which has good accuracy, but also doesn't cost an arm and a leg. This slide is really important. It's good to know how many people there are in a survey, but where do they actually come from? Results have to be projected to the rest of the universe and have to come from a sample that is unbiased and random. It's very important not to use somebody's vendor or technology list as in a specific platform or language, as this would skew the results and we won't be able to project to the wider population of developers. We have multiple sources, but have carefully selected them so they are all tech agnostic. And we're very diligent about this. Our methodology ensures that whatever the sample size, the results can be projected to the wider developer population, making the insights super actionable to our clients. In addition, when we actually run the surveys, we offer neutral incentives to respondents. They accrue points once they've completed the survey and can redeem those points for cash. But we never incentivize them with branded items, as this would bias their answers. So we've talked about what we do and how we do things. Now let's get into the interesting part. How can you leverage this data to make informed decisions? These quotes speak for themselves. Developer survey-based research brings to light vital topics, trends, and issues. These insights help our clients identify challenges, pain points, barriers, and preferences to inform strategy, positioning, and messaging. We receive continuous feedback from our clients on how our report data has helped them understand and ultimately capture market share. So, the Evans Data Annual Developer Marketing Survey Report, which includes a demographics and psychographics section, provides a gold mine of information answering this in detail, understanding what makes developers tick and where you can find them. How about knowing your place in the market as seen through their eyes? This involves setting a benchmark, then regularly testing unaided and aided awareness surveys along with SOV to measure the effectiveness of your campaigns. This type of survey is highly solicited by our clients, as periodically within the year, they need to get the pulse of the wider developer community on how aware they are of their offerings or brand. They often also need to know how effectively their marketing mix is fulfilling these goals. So how about identifying personas or segments and being able to profile them to improve marketing accuracy? We can also run custom surveys allowing you to really profile the types of developers using your technology by identifying developer personas and then segmenting these personas. There are two types of personas. Predefined, this is where our clients come to us with a preconceived idea of what their personas are and how they believe their product or offering should appeal and resonate to these personas. And organic. In this case, we talk with the client, define the product and service, we survey the right sample, then use cluster analysis to determine clusters that originate organically. This can actually spring some interesting results. For example, a brand new cluster is identified. So understanding each step of the developer journey and how you can move your developers along is very, very important also to our clients. So regardless of where they are on the developer journey, by running a custom survey to help them understand each step of this journey, we can really help our clients in a strategic way. We typically see several steps within the developer journey, and this type of survey allows us to find what motivates or influences developers to move forward along the funnel. First, developers are unaware. Then they need to become aware. Once they're aware, you need to get them interested. Then you need to figure out how to get the right message to them, including features of the product highlighted in a way that's compelling. Then you need to get them hooked by offering them a trial. Once they've tried it, you need to establish at what price point they would be willing to buy. Once the pricing is right and they're using your product, you need to get them to support your users through your developer program. And then the final step is when they actually become advocates of your product or offering by promoting you through holding contests and awards, for instance. Once you've identified the personas, segmented and profiled your audience, you'll probably want to test your messages securely and discreetly with large numbers of developers before making an investment in promoting them. Ultimately, though, how do you know the pricing and product configuration strategy is right? We can help you run a survey to see the effect of pricing elasticity on your proposed pricing, plus test the relative value of features or bundle elements by using applied conjoint analysis. In a nutshell, this allows you to test the relative value of product features or bundle elements. So, conducting regular satisfaction testing of prospects and current customers is very important as well for within our client base. Regular NPS is a very well-known measure of user perception that we have been running on a regular basis for a number of clients. It provides a simple way of measuring success and is a basic form of competitive research. But very often, our clients need to drill deeper into how satisfied developers are with their product or offering, so a more comprehensive form of competitive research is required. Over the last few years especially, competitive benchmarking studies have proven to be hugely valuable to our clients as they involve asking a specific developer audience to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of different attributes as those apply to their own company versus their key competitors. Now to your questions. We've tried to group together as many as we could to provide answers to the most popular topics. It may jump around a bit, so bear with me. We just wanted to try and answer as many as we could in this short amount of time. If we didn't get to your specific question, I'll follow up with you offline. The top burning question, especially after COVID, and now even more so following the Ukraine developments: developer population. North America and EMEA consist of many developed economies with high computerization rates. Numerous large tech companies from these regions established themselves in the field in the early days of software development. What's evident, though, looking at today's landscape, is that APAC has the highest developer population among all regions. In fact, the two largest emerging markets in terms of population, tertiary education, computerization, and ultimately developer population is China and India, and they're rapidly expanding. Now, projecting out 5 years, we anticipate growth rates in excess of 14% across each region. APAC's growth rate is the highest here at more than 22%. Signs point to China being a key component of this high growth rate. Our worldwide developer population and demographic study explores 5-year growth rates in over 30 countries across the world. This really helps your organization evaluate growth potential for your campaigns in each region. Now we'll move on to questions around developer marketing and developer relations. First question, why are people becoming developers? According to our survey results, there are personal reasons for this, such as curiosity and a desire to develop skills, which actually ranked at the top. This year, those personal growth motivations were supplemented by the very real and practical need to learn the skills to support a business opportunity or startup. Consistent with last year, the least motivating reason is to make a lot of money. How can we convert a user into an advocate? As you know, developers are generally practical and logical. It is important to think about what encourages one to become an enthusiastic user. So while other factors encourage them to share their good experience with others, 57% of developers state that the specific functionality of the tool is what makes them passionate about a particular tool or software. Mentioning, therefore, the specific functionality of your tool in your messaging is important. However, describing precisely how your tool is the most effective in solving common problems is key. Now, what makes a developer try something new? Developers are always on the lookout for new tools as a means of keeping up with the landscape. However, developers will not indiscriminately start trying new tools just because they are available. There needs to be a compelling reason to try something new. The most common reason to try new technologies is better performance, cited by 20% of global developers. Following closely behind is the opportunity for leading edge technology, cited at 18%. Where do developers fit into DevRel programs? We asked developers how they view their relationships with the companies that offer developer programs. Interestingly enough, few see themselves as partners or consumers. Instead, 69% believe that they themselves support the company. This directly affects how companies should interact with developers. Developers need to be seen as a team member, not a consumer. What are AI or ML developers looking from a vendor? For AI or machine learning integration and operation, vendor resources can play an important role. A vendor's ability to provide frameworks is the most important area. The least common is providing trained models. One possible reason for trained models' lack of popularity is their limited usage capabilities, as many need to be trained for a project. This means that pre-trained models have limited usage capabilities. Now, does a DevRel program influence API use? The lack of a developer program often affects developers' ability to use a provider's API. These insufficient resources can significantly impact development and API usage. To fill the gap caused by the lack of a developer program, developers may instead seek out resources from other areas and in turn find new solutions. Now, what security message do developers actually use? Security is a big issue for all developers, regardless of their target markets. 66% of developers say that they employ cryptography libraries or algorithms in their development. 2/3 use cryptography libraries or algorithms, yet familiarity with secure and trust-based technologies varies according to region. So this next section of questions focuses on software and tool use. First of all, are developers using open APIs? APIs can be critical, even when developers are not using any outside resources. After all, nobody wants to duplicate efforts, particularly when someone within their own organization has already created a reliable method of performing a specific function. Developers are somewhat less likely to rely on APIs made available to anyone than they are to rely on APIs that are internal to their own organizations. But overall, it's a fairly even split. A very interesting question that we received is to what extent are companies actually charging for their APIs. As we know, developers will use both internal and external APIs, but how are organizations monetizing APIs published outside of their organization? Turns out that 60% will charge for them. What's particularly interesting is that development teams in North America are more likely to charge than other regions globally. Now, another question that came up, which is very interesting, how is analytics software being used in cloud environments? Analytics is the way of peeling away the meaning from gathered data, sifting through the information until projects reveal the nuggets of knowledge driving innovation. With the cloud becoming more secure, reliable, and affordable, data analytics software is becoming increasingly relevant when used to gain insight from the cloud accessible data and is helping democratize analytics and facilitate movement from insight to action. 45% of developers currently use analytics software, and 43% say they plan to do so in the next 6 months. Analytics software is most commonly used in larger organizations. So what tool types do developers want for quantum computing? One of the benchmarks that many organizations strive for is quantum supremacy, which illustrates quantum computing's ability to exceed classical computing's performance across various use cases. Thus, as with many other forms of high-performance computing, one of the emphases of quantum computing is in delivering the highest performance for the hardware. Today, 22% of respondents would find optimization tools and profilers to be the most compelling quantum-specific tools. Now let's get to a hot topic, the cloud, that has become even hotter following the pandemic. So how has cloud use increased? Globally, the pandemic-inspired shift to remote work almost certainly accelerated the adoption of newly virtualized IT and cloud computing. Although these increases in cloud adoption were reactive, they certainly altered the landscape. The perspective on what constitutes a standard information technology operating environment has massively shifted in just the past 2 years. Today, slightly more than half of the developers report that most of their workloads are now cloud-based, but almost 9 in 10 respondents indicated that at least some of their workloads are cloud-based. Another question that came up, are developers using multiple cloud sources? Using multiple cloud services or platforms does not necessarily mean using separate platforms for separate projects. In fact, organizations may opt to use multiple cloud services for the same project for such purposes as cloud bursting to account for spikes in demand. What's interesting is that 51% of developers state that their organizations use multiple cloud services together, yet only 40% of IT managers stated multi-cloud use. What is stopping developers from moving to the cloud? A code base's portability can be an influencing factor in developers' willingness to move to the cloud. Developers that would definitely be willing to move to a new cloud service provider for deployment or hosting are somewhat more likely to state that their apps are portable across multiple clouds. Developers whose teams probably or definitely would not be willing to move to a new cloud platform for deployment or hosting are somewhere in the middle, neither creating the most platform-specific code nor the most portable code. So who is using edge technology? Edge technologies are extremely important within the realm of mobile cloud and especially for Internet of Things. For those working in edge computing, North Americans are the most involved in edge computing, while those in the EMEA region lag behind the others. So I know that was a lot of information to digest, and I thank you for taking the time today to join us. I'll be sending you a copy of this slide deck, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have. If we didn't get to your question, let's continue the conversation offline. I'd be happy to. I believe Violet posted my contact info in the chat. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Dino, for the great presentation. As Dino mentioned, it was a lot that we crammed through in the last 30 minutes. So I do have his contact information in the chat and encourage you to reach out with any additional questions or thoughts that you may have. If you're interested to know where we found the answers to these questions, stick around and Dino will walk you through our research library. Thanks for attending today, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
So here's a little bit more information about our reports. Our 15 survey-driven reports provide a 360-degree view of the developer and IT tech landscape, with detailed data-driven insights throughout the year. Our reports are enterprise access, meaning any employee can access them. This included company-wide distribution is a great way to disseminate the information across multiple teams or divisions and share budget. In addition, and this is quite unique in the industry, our clients can submit questions and suggestions for inclusion into our upcoming syndicated surveys. The ability to influence some of the content gives them a vested interest in consuming our data long term. First, with our tactical survey series. Now, developer marketing and developer relations programs are our tactical surveys, which we run once a year around the same time, with detailed reports on the back of each survey. For our clients, these also tend to be entry-level reports. So starting with developer marketing, this comprehensive report presents more than 200 pages of data focused on marketing and outreach to developers as reflected through the lens of developers. It's a must for any marketing professional targeting developers and would allow them to base their marketing campaigns on clearly defined developer personas, use developer psychographics to create compelling messaging, and strategize their media spend by knowing what works. Key topics within this report are demographics and psychographics, purchasing authority, using social media to recruit developers, emails and newsletters, virtual conferences, tech conferences, and events. Now moving to the developer relations programs. Again, this is a comprehensive look, more than 200 pages, at the views, attitudes, and intentions of developers with respect to developer relations. The report provides data-driven insights to make educated decisions about future program direction, as well as program features, pricing, and other important program aspects. It allows DevRel managers and directors to learn to effectively recruit developers and turn them into advocates, make the right decisions about program goals, features, and pricing, build and maintain a successful developer program, community website, and training sessions, meet and exceed developers' expectations for technical training, and understand how to enhance developers' productivity and efficiency. The key topics here are, I would say the topics that really stand out are developer program memberships, APIs and SDKs, developer program content, and tutorials, but there's a lot more. Each report also includes a companion report highlight slide deck with 30 to 40 top findings from the report as selected by the report's analyst author. Now let's move on to the strategic series. So Evans Data Corporation surveys tens of thousands of technology professionals from around the world each year to produce strategic data-driven insights. Each biannual report covers current and trending development topics to provide a comprehensive view of the current global developer community. So starting with the Global Development Survey report. Our Global Development Survey is an omnibus survey that runs twice a year, looking at the hottest tech and development topics globally. It's by far the largest survey series we run, translated into 6 languages, and is the only survey we run which is broken out regionally. Results are available via an in-depth report produced on the back of each survey, one in the spring and the other in the fall. It presents a snapshot of what developers are doing specifically at the time surveys are fielded. It is an unfiltered view of developer practice and developer decisions, and is information from the point of view of developers. This is as direct a representation as possible of what developers are thinking and doing at the time as they report in our surveys. These reports express survey results in percentages and reflect directly the views, intentions, and perceptions of developers across the latest trends in the developer landscape. The latest report section covers a number of different areas, but in particular, platform adoption, tool and technology adoption, open source software, security, high performance computing, and quantum computing, which is a subset of that, and edge computing. The report includes a companion report highlights deck with 30 to 40 top findings, just like in the tactical survey series. So now let's move on to the worldwide developer population demographic study. In a nutshell, the population study provides current top-line population numbers across North America, LATAM, EMEA, and APAC, and 5-year forecasts, country by country and regional view. It actually looks at the top 30 countries. There's also tech-specific population numbers, i.e., the number of developers involved and planning to work with specific technologies, for instance, such as platform adoption, tech adoption, AI and ML, enterprise development, DevOps, IoT, open source, and high-performance computing. In contrast to our global report, this study expresses survey results by mapping them out to populations, and it provides developer market sizing data and TAM data as well. I was very excited to talk about this. So this is actually a new report that will be coming out later this year. It's going to be involving sort of collecting sort of all the the data we've been amassing throughout the years across different different surveys, and basically creating sort of historically trended data through a report. The subjects will include sort of developer demographics, host and targets, language use, tech adoption, and much more. And there'll be a lot more to follow on this as it's still early days, but stay tuned. It's a very exciting report that has actually been will be released in large part due to a lot of the feedback that I've been getting from clients. Now let's move on to the vertical survey report series. So for vertical specific developer insights, Evans Data surveys only those developers in a particular discipline, discovering topic specific attitudes, adoption patterns, and intentions. Each biannual report includes an executive summary and detailed analysis of survey questions. Again, in this case, each report includes also a companion report highlights deck with 30 to 40 top findings of the report. Starting with cloud. So the Cloud Development Survey examines the usage patterns attitudes, and concerns of cloud developers. The latest report sections cover areas such as platform and service evaluation and adoption, tool and technology adoption, multi-cloud environments, containers and container orchestration tools, high-performance computing, and cloud security, among others. Similarly, we also have an AI and ML survey report that comes out twice a year. This gives a comprehensive view of the attitudes, adoption patterns, and intentions of AI and ML developers worldwide. And the latest report sections cover areas such as machine learning frameworks and models, AI and processes, platform adoption, tool and technology adoption, security aspects, and conversational systems and speech recognition, as well as image recognition as well. Finally, our DevOps survey report series. So last but not least, this is a continuous publication providing a multifaceted look at developer versus ops IT management perspectives on vital DevOps topics, trends, and issues. This subscription identifies challenges, pain points, barriers, and preferences to inform your strategy, positioning, and messaging. Based on timely survey data, the DevOps survey series reveals the intentions, motivations, and attitudes of developers and IT pros on how they plan, use, and source DevOps tools, platforms, and systems. Data insights are derived from thorough analysis of survey responses from equal numbers of both developers and operations and MIS professionals. Some of the topics covered throughout the year are CI/CD and continuous testing, workflow and workloads, DevSecOps, DevOps derivatives, and SecOps, containerization and virtualization, cloud orchestration and Kubernetes, and coming this year as well, we're going to be looking at value stream management. So thank you very much for your time and for bearing with me also across the latter parts of the research library. I hope this was a really sort of valuable insight into our data set. And we'll definitely be also following up with you all via email to continue the conversation. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dino, and thank you everybody for participating. We're going to wrap things up now. Please send any comments or questions that you have to Dino or myself. Dino's email is in the chat, as well as mine, which I need to add right now. But thank you so much, and thank you, Dino. You all have a great week. Bye-bye.